A sense of disappointment, dismay and even anger, as you can see protests across the country by gay rights activists as well as ordinary citizens who are wondering why the Supreme Court could simply not use its otherwise interventionist authority to strike down a retrograde law, one that had in fact been interpreted within the template of the fundamental rights to life and liberty by the Delhi High Court. Like I said, anger growing, but most people saying the fight is not over yet. The Supreme Court throwing the ball back in Parliament's court, but with Parliament ever take a position, so few of our members of Parliament have even taken a position on the issue of gay rights. Joining me now is somebody who has been a vocal advocate against this archaic law, speaking both from his own personal experience as well as simply on the issues of liberalism and humanism, is celebrated author Vikram Seth. He's joining us now on this program. Vikram, I think we all share today a sense of disbelief, dismay, disappointment, anger. What do you make of the judgment as somebody who has always been a strong advocate against this archaic law, this retrograde discriminatory law? Beyond the disappointment, are you able to make any sense of what's happened today?
Well, Barkha, today is a great day for prejudice and inhumanity, and a bad day for law and love. But law develops and love is resilient, and prejudice and inhumanity will be beaten back, and law and love will prevail.
So you're still
hopeful? The judgment
hopeful?
is a disgrace. I'm hopeful not immediately, but over not the long run, over the medium run.
And when you say the judgment is
basically, let me elaborate on that.
Yeah, please do.
This is a judgment made by two people, two judges, overturning the judgment of a high court, also a division bench, a two-person bench. It overrules the judgment of a high court which confirms, does not confer, confirms the fundamental rights of a group of citizens. One other time that I can remember, and this has happened before as well, there was a judgment during the emergency, the habeas corpus judgment, where a full bench, a 5-member bench of the Supreme Court, brought disgrace upon the institution by again taking away the fundamental rights of Indian citizens that had been confirmed by the high courts. All I hope is that this judgment will, within the precincts of the Supreme Court, be cured or revised or overruled by a larger bench, so that this stain from the annals of Indian jurisprudence and Indian human rights and our Constitution is washed away.
May I ask you, Vikram, and we all share, in a sense, the sentiment of what you've expressed today. May I ask you to speak a little bit about why you have, over the years, decided to come out and speak about your own personal experience? I remember on this very show, in an interview to me several years ago, you said, I'm gay or at least partially gay. Since then, we of course have your poem Dubious, in which there is that great line, in the strict ranks of gay and straight, what is my status, stray or great? How difficult was it for you?
Yes, that was.
Yes, and how difficult was it for you, and how important was it for you, Vikram, to actually come out with this?
Well, I'm not a very public person. I don't often talk about my private life. I write about things either in poetry or in prose. And it isn't only about gay rights that I've spoken. I've spoken about apartheid in South Africa, about the Babri Masjid, about what happened in Tiananmen. But in this case, I felt that it was incumbent on me to speak out clearly. Because although I may come from a fairly liberal family, which anyway had a hard time accepting things. The fact is, so many of us live in the countryside, in small towns, come from families that are less broad-minded, and would live lives of quiet desperation, even trying to come to terms with themselves, let alone trying to come to terms with people they love, people they have to deal with, society in general. So I didn't think it was right that, because I am to some extent protected by it, that I shouldn't speak out. It was as simple as that. I don't think there was anything particularly admirable about it. I just think I wouldn't have been able to live with myself if I hadn't.
And
now, as for the question of being gay or partially gay, someone who is partially gay is gay. If you've loved a man, being a man, if you've loved a woman, being a woman, the fact that you've loved someone across the gender boundary, so to speak, doesn't make you any the less gay. But people can use any kinds of labels they like. So that was my own personal issue. But I wish we would get off the question of my personal thing onto the question of how the judges could have taken away the rights, the prerogatives, and the dignities of 5% of the 50 million Indians, peace-loving Indians, who yesterday were not criminals and today are criminals.
And
worse, it gets worse than that. Consider what the law says, this section 377. If a man has consensual oral sex with his wife, he, like any gay person, can be sentenced to imprisonment for life, or imprisonment of either description, rigorous or simple, that can extend to 10 years, and also be liable to fine. But of course this isn't how the law operates. It's used by people indiscriminately against gay men, so that we become a government not of laws but of men, of people, of decision makers. And also it operates against women. Although the code says nothing, the 377 says nothing, women who've been living happily together have been forcibly torn apart by their families or by the police under the instigation of their families. It is a law that takes us back to a position of barbarism, and it was squarely within the province of the Supreme Court to decide that the rights of equality and equal treatment under the law, non-discrimination, and the right to live your life should have been upheld.